Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. Technical difficulties, of course, right before I'm ready to go live. No matter how much time I give myself to prepare, shit always happens. Always. But say la vie. Um, right now I'm trying to get over to YouTube quick. So I'm streaming tonight without my little Snapcam patch. I found it. It's working again. It's great, but for some reason it's really slowing down my computer. I had to reset it or restart it twice because I was using that. So I'm just gonna keep it off. Fuck it. Whatever. I mean, I could always turn the camera off too if I want, but we'll wait and see. What is playing? Yeah. I don't even have these hooked up yet. But I'm planning on playing some media. So mute. Okay, there we go. So how's everyone doing? I hope everyone's Monday has been fantastic. I know it's fucking Monday, but whatever. All right. Live chat. All right. Hi, Mr. Black Wolf. Hi, Robin. Hi, Coy. Hi. I hope everyone is well. I hope it's been a good day. So yeah. I've been just down this rabbit hole, not really rabbit hole, but I've been just really into finding out more about what's going on with like the politics and shit. Wait a minute, shit. 1 second. I forgot to put my lip gloss on. It's gonna fuck with me if I don't put it on. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. It's just I bought that vinyl lip gloss stuff or whatever, and if you don't put or lipstick, lip color, whatever, if you don't put lip gloss on over it, then it's kind of peels off and shit. It's gross. Anyway, sorry about that. So yeah. Like I said, just really obsessed, almost like learning all about the shit going on with the ICE agents, with Portland, with Chicago, with bringing in the National Guard and shit. Like, this is crazy. I don't care. All right, let me come clean here with y'all. I'm not a Trump fan. I don't really care for Trump, but the thing is, though, is I don't really care about Trump either. One man, even as president, has very limited amount of control or effect on people as a whole, I think. So would I care to really try to put my attention into whenever having any kind of political discussions or whatever is with other people, especially people like in my immediate community or my like my peers or whatever, because that's who I'm going to be affected by. That's who's going to be affected by me, if possibly. So I don't really care about Trump. He's not a savior. He's a buffoon. He really is. I mean, just his attempt at English speaking the past week alone. But that being said, I'm going to be honest here with you. I'm not a big fan of the far right, but equally so, I'm not a big fan of the far left. I can't stand liberals either. Sorry. I know a lot of people listening may be falling in one of those two categories, but if your political beliefs do not allow you, like in your circle, if you are not allowed to hold your own opinions and to speak on them, then I have a problem with whatever circle you're in, because we all have to be able to do that. And when it comes to both the far right and the far left, people have a hard time being able to do that. So that's where I stand. I consider myself a progressive. I think that healthcare should be a right to all. I don't really care much about immigration. I don't see I don't think it's a big deal, really. I think it's being made into a big deal for political fighting power. Um, so yeah. But anyway, my whole thing right now is the whole National Guard and shit being called in to American cities. Um, and it's not just involving Trump where this is really being the case. Like Atlanta or Georgia, yeah, Georgia, right around Atlanta, has been having a problem with this for probably a couple of decades, going back to like the Olympics when that was there, was 93 or 96 or something. Um, there's a section of like woods, forest or whatever, like just outside of Atlanta somewhere, and I guess like it's a the ecological effects and contributions that this patch of forest or whatever contributes to the local area is it's immeasurable, really. It's what protects a lot of the land there from flooding, and then just the contributions to the greenhouse gases or whatever. So it's really something you want to keep up there. But apparently there's been this proposal or whatever to like tear it down and build like this whole cop city or something, this big training facility for people to train there in how to combat the public, I guess. And the local, there's a big organization or a big group of locals there who've been fighting, and they've so far been successful, but we all know that it's only a matter of time until that's probably not the case. So it's not even just Trump where this is happening. Like there's other, I guess, maybe agencies that want to turn parts of America into battleground, whether for practice or for real. And even Trump made reference to using this as like a training opportunity or something for the National Guard. And it's crazy. And it's like anyone who also wants to try and speak up against this they're aiming to silence people. And I don't care what side of the political spectrum you fall on. I have an issue with that. I really do have an issue with that. And before anyone says anything, I don't even so much blame Republicans or the far right or anything for where we are today. I think when it came to the people in that group, where if this was their intention, they made that known years ago. This isn't a surprise. Who I kind of blame more than anyone for how we got here is the Democrats, because, well, I was a huge Bernie Sanders supporter. I still remember learning that the party was going to ignore everyone and just go with Hillary, knowing that there was going to be a huge gamble, huge risk. And I don't mind taking a gamble or risk, but I do mind it when people want to gamble and risk our futures over when the odds are that much against us. That was not going to be an easy win. It was not even likely to be a win, and obviously it wasn't. But so that's kind of who I blame, I think, more than anyone when it comes to where we are today. So yeah. And then their whole like inability to resist much of anything that had come their way and shit. So I want to just dive into this a little bit. I want to play a few video clips of what's been going on out in Portland and Chicago. Like, I'm amazed. I'm fucking amazed. Anyway. Sorry, now I feel like I put it on too late and it's going to end up on my teeth. Oh, okay. Tammy, so yeah, I remember it was after the 2016 election. I want to say maybe it's 2019 or 2020, because it was when I was still like big in like the whole vaccine advocacy. I've always had a little bit of a crush on Joe Rogan. I know, but he's cute. I don't care. Like ever since he first became a thing, like back in the 90s. So, and then I read something where he said something that pretty much aligned with like the whole anti-vaxxer kind of point of view. I'm like, no, like they can't take Joe Rogan from us. They can't. They fucking can't. So it was way back then. I remember. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot why I was telling the story. And at that time is when they were actually separating kids from families and stuff at these detention centers, for trying to come into the country. And Joe Rogan said something that just like won my heart pretty much. And he said, if you support separating kids from their families, from their parents, then we are not on the same team. Well, apparently sounds like he might have jumped ship there on that team, but whatever. It's been at least far back since then. Like that was the whole goal, it seems. I don't know. But let me pull up a few things here on YouTube. Why is that pulling up? I wasn't watching that. Crazy. But yeah, I do think healthcare should be a right to all. I really do. The thing is like, nobody should have to face the hard truth that you're too poor to survive. Like you're too poor to afford treatment options that are in fact available, or you're too poor to even seek medical help. No one should have to ever be faced with, do I bankrupt my family in the house, or do I die? Or do I just live a very difficult life, whatever. No one should ever have to be faced with that decision. That's where I stand on it. All right. Trying to think what I searched before. Oh my God, I saw a fucking hilarious TikTok too. This guy was talking about how after Trump and the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff there, when they got done talking to all the generals and shit, I guess the crowd was just like what the fuck. So I guess some of the people allegedly in the military, I don't know if that's where this originated from, but that's where it's being alleged, they nicknamed Trump and the other guy there, was it big boy and little man or something, after the two bombs that we dropped over in Japan, because in their attempts at those beaches they bombed so hard, so they were nicknamed after those two bombs. I laughed my ass off when I saw that. I didn't see that one yet. Okay, we'll watch a new one. Wait, is that a picture? It's not even a video. What the fuck? So for those of you who are unfamiliar, there's been a lot of protests, protesting like the ICE agents and over at the ICE facilities over in Chicago and Portland, Oregon. And as a result, Trump has wanted to bring in the National Guard to back ICE. So now it's not only just, the ICE agents assaulting American citizens, he wants to bring in the actual part of the military to do it. Well, so Portland, Oregon, I guess that they petitioned a court out there or whatever, and they blocked his order. So then he went to California to try to get California's National Guard to go up to Portland. California did the same thing, and it got blocked, I guess. And I haven't followed it. I haven't updated myself yet on what's going on with Chicago, but I know he has or does want to call for them there as well. I'm not positive what's happened as a result, though. Here we go. Let's start with this one. Oh wait, I gotta hook up my ear things first. Okay. Am I frozen again? My computer's not frozen. Why do I look frozen? Nope, there we go. Okay. All right. Audio. Make sure my microphone stays where it is. Okay. That looks weird. Okay, so this video here I'm playing is from ABC 10. Trump plans new National Guard deployments defying ruling. And this is like just from like an hour ago or something. That's why I'm playing it.
Tension between the Trump administration and Democrat-run states is escalating, with the president deploying the National Guard to local cities. Local and state leaders blasting the administration's efforts as an overreach. ABC Christiane Guerra has a detail from Washington.
Today, the Trump administration vows sending troops to American cities will continue, despite a ruling over the weekend that the National Guard cannot be deployed to Portland, Oregon. The Trump-appointed judge in that case said the president's descriptions of protests there were, quote, simply untethered to the facts.
With all due respect to that judge, I think her opinion is untethered in reality and in the law.
For weeks, President Trump has vowed to deploy National Guard troops to several cities over what the White House calls ongoing violent riots and lawlessness. Memphis is providing the administration with a clear path to carry out law enforcement duties, with Tennessee's Republican governor working with the administration. However, leaders in several other states, including Oregon and Illinois, are not complying.
The Trump administration must end the war on Chicago.
During protests in Chicago over the weekend, a 30-year-old woman was shot and injured by a Border Patrol agent who claimed self-defense after Homeland Security officials alleged she was armed and used her car to ram a federal vehicle. Trump now plans to deploy the Texas National Guard to Chicago with the help of Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Officials in Illinois today filed a lawsuit trying to block that from happening.
Donald Trump is using our service members as political props and as pawns in his illegal effort to militarize our nation's cities.
Without cooperation from a state's governor, the administration is limited to using the National Guard to protect federal buildings and personnel. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Okay. Now also, and let's see, upload date. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. I want to play it something that's an hour fucking long though. Oh shit. Okay. So he signed something new into law where he's giving Homeland Security the green light, the go ahead or whatever to investigate, spy on, basically target certain groups that are viewed to be like an enemy of the state or whatever. But these groups, that he's coming after, it doesn't make sense. They're not a threat. So like basically, if you don't really support capitalism, if you think we should have more of a socialist government, you're on the list. If you are not Christian and you don't believe in Christianity, it might do it again in a couple of seconds. So 1 second. All right, I think we're good. Sometimes they'll do 2 sets of them, but not tonight. Let's see, I had all this pulled up, but then my computer froze. Okay. Where does it say February? There we go. There we go. Here it is. All right, so Trump's NSPM 7 labels common beliefs as terrorism indicators. New directive targets anti-Christian, anti-American, and anti-capitalism opinions. With the mainstream media distracted by the made-for-TV drama of James Comey's indictment, Trump has signed a little-noticed national security directive identifying anti-Christian and anti-American views as indicators of radical left violence. Called National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, it's being referred to as NSPM 7 by administration insiders. This is the first time in American history that there is an all-of-government effort to dismantle left-wing terrorism. End quote. Trump's Homeland Security advisor, Stephen Miller, said, referring to the issuance, to the extent that the major media noticed the directive at all, they, even C-SPAN, incorrectly labeled it an executive order, like this week's designation of Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. President Trump signs executive order on countering terror. Okay. We're looking at the funders. Okay. It's hard to overstate how much different NSPM 7 is from the over 200 executive orders Trump has frantically signed since coming back into office. An executive order publicly lays out the course of day-to-day federal government operations, whereas a national security directive is a sweeping policy decree for the defense, foreign policy, intelligence, and law enforcement apparatus. National security directives are often secret, but in this case, the Trump administration chose to publish NSPM 7, only the 7th since he's come into office. Previous national security directives have been controversial, even politically earth-shaking. In 1980, for example, President Jimmy Carter signed the top-secret Presidential Directive 59, directing new nuclear warfighting policies that persisted until the end of the Cold War. When revealed, PD 59 caused public furor. It was in PD 18. I directed a follow-on study of our targeting for air forces. I have reviewed the results and considered their implications for maintaining deterrence in the present decade, particularly in light of the growing Soviet strategic weapons arsenal and its capabilities. Okay. Similarly, President George W. Bush signed a series of classified national security directives after 9/11, the most famous of which authorized NSA's unlawful domestic intercepts, a directive that wasn't publicly revealed until 4 years later. In NSPM 7, quote, countering domestic terrorism and organized political violence, President Trump directs the Justice Department, the FBI, and other national security agencies and departments to fight this version of political violence in America, retooling a network of joint terrorism task forces to focus on leftist political violence in America. The vast counterterrorism army made up of federal, state, and local agents would, as Trump aide Stephen Miller said, form the central hub of that effort. NSPM 7 directs a new national strategy to disrupt any individual or groups that, quote, foment political violence, including, quote, before they result in violent political acts, end quote. In other words, they're targeting pre-crime to reference Minority Report. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. Like, because you said or think this, we believe that you're now going to commit this crazy terroristic act. I mean, I'm sure that there are indicators, but you can't, absent of a direct threat, making it go from an indicator to a plan of attack, you can't just like start picking people up off the street because of what you think they might possibly do. Sorry, I had a scenario pop up in my head. I want to mull on that for a little bit. The Trump administration isn't only targeting organizations or on groups, but even individuals and entities whom NSPM 7 says can be identified by any of the following indicators of violence: anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration, extremism on race, extremism on gender, hostility toward those who hold traditional American views on family, hostility toward those who hold traditional American views on religion, and hostility toward those who hold traditional American views on morality. Yep, he just signed into effect like the utilization and authorization of the morality police, basically. Yep, that's fucking crazy. So think about this though. Imagine this though, okay? So I don't know how many of you, sorry, I hit my mic. I don't know how many of you watching were around for the whole era where everyone on YouTube was coming hard for Molly Golightly, okay? And sure, I know a lot of people didn't and still probably don't like Molly. I don't really care. My point is though, is that it was basically a group of women, mostly women, some men, but mostly women, who decided they didn't like someone. And then they had that person, they did everything in their power. They spent time, effort, energy, whatever, to get that person removed off the platform. And a good portion of this group still to this day is still doing this, but to other creators. They want to be the morality police on YouTube. Imagine though, if these individuals had the ability to determine whether or not someone was guilty of any of these suggestions here. Imagine what that would look like. Imagine if like the most Karenist person you can think of on YouTube was entrusted in determining whether or not you, your family, your neighbor, your enemy even, was a moral individual by, well, statist standards here in America. Imagine what that, oh my God, because that's exactly what they're explaining here. That's it. Only it'll just be probably men doing it because, well, the people who are writing these things, well, they don't really trust women with that kind of power. Come on. The United States requires a national strategy to investigate and disrupt networks, entities, and organizations that foment political violence so that law enforcement can intervene in criminal conspiracies before they result in violent political acts. The directive states, emphasis mine, a pre-crime endeavor, preventing attacks before they happen, is core to the post 9/11 concept of counterterrorism itself. No longer satisfied to investigate acts of terrorism after the fact to bring terrorists to justice, the Bush administration adopted preemption overseas that led to aerial assassination by drones and special operations kill missions. Domestically, it led to a counterterrorism campaign whose hallmark was excessive and illegal government surveillance and the use of undercover agents and confidential human sources to trap and entrap would-be terrorists. Now, with Donald Trump's directive retooling the counter-terror apparatus to go after Americans at home, this means monitoring political activity or speech as an investigative method to discover, quote, radicalism. Contrary to other national security documents, all during the post-Watergate era, NSPM 7 doesn't even mention the First Amendment or the fundamental right of Americans to organize and protest. So there you go. They're coming after the First Amendment. Like they are. They want to, I mean, this whole order right here, it basically states that this country already has a fucking official religion, even like Christianity, but we never have. But according to this, now we do, it seems, because if you have any thought, like a desire to not see a Christian, like, authoritative base or whatever stand up in this country, then you are therefore against this country. You're not a patriot, and you should be investigated by all the federal agencies as like a political enemy or something. And why is it a political enemy? You know, I mean, because this isn't like an enemy against America, because possibly half of America could even feel this way. This is an enemy against one part of America, and that's one party in America. And I know not all Republicans support this shit. Don't get me wrong. I'm not even saying that. I'm saying, though, the people who penned this shit, the people who introduced this shit, and the people who are going to put this into effect, well, they are concerned for the Republican Party. So that's why I say that. So yeah. So it's not even like let's protect our country. It's let's protect a group of people in our country from the rest of the country because we don't like what they want or what they're saying. It's crazy. The focus on speech is evident throughout NSPM 7. The directive says that political violence is the result of organized campaigns that often begin with the left dehumanizing targets in, quote, anonymous chat boards, in-person meetings, social media, and even educational institutions. How does one dehumanize a target in a chat room? Seriously. How? Especially if they're anonymous. Like when did people in this country just get such thin skin? When did people in this country just turn into fucking pussies? I don't know. I hate to say it like that because I know I don't like it to see or hear, shit said about me. Of course, no one likes it. It's very unpleasant. But this is more unpleasant, in my opinion. I'd much rather people who I fucking despise have the ability to say whatever they think about me than they not to have that ability, and therefore me not have that ability. It's crazy. To give a sense of how broad this formulation is, Trump's earliest designation of Antifa as a domestic terrorist group was accompanied by a White House fact sheet singling out people who, quote, celebrated Luigi Magnoni, the alleged killer of the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last December. As I wrote at the time, this describes a lot of Americans. It does. Trump's new national security memorandum also alludes to Mangione, but adds to it in large categories of potential targets. NSPM 7 is fundamentally a law enforcement directive, and it dispenses with the complications of using the active duty military or the National Guard in pursuit of political violence. It directs the Department of Justice to focus the FBI's approximately 200 joint terrorism task forces to the new mission. Damn, it's so loud. I don't know how loud that is for you guys. It's like they're not even going farther away. All right, now they're quieting down. I know, like the microphone, the cover, and everything, like hides a lot of the sound. Like my neighbor will be mowing the lawn, and I've listened in on the stream, and you guys can't even hear it. It's crazy, but that might be a certain pitch where y'all can hear it. I don't know. Applications. Okay. NPM 7 is fundamentally a law enforcement directive, and it dispenses with the complications of using the active duty military or the National Guard in pursuit of political violence. It directs the Department of Justice to focus on FBI's approximately 200 joint terrorism task forces to the new mission. The FBI network of task forces comprises of 4,000 members, including FBI personnel and task force officers from more than 500 state and local agencies and 50 federal agencies, including special agents, police officers, intelligence analysts, and surveillance technicians. First established in New York City in 1980 to systematize FBI and NYPD cooperation. Today, there are task forces around the country, including at least one in each of the FBI's 55 field offices. For the Trump White House, the beauty of using an already existing network is that it bypasses congressional oversight and scrutiny and even obscures federal activity to governors and legislatures at the same level. States, cities, and local police have already signed memoranda of agreements with the feds to fight terrorism, and officers are already assigned to task force officers. NSPM 7 says the Joint Terrorism Task Forces shall investigate potential federal crimes relating to acts of recruiting or radicalizing persons for the purpose of political violence, terrorism, or conspiracy against rights, and the violent deprivation of any citizen's rights. Did I just read? So the purpose of this is to investigate any kind of activity or people committing acts that could deprive a citizen of a citizen's rights. But in your efforts to do this, you in fact going to violate or deprive any citizen of their rights. At what point do you stop and realize that the ends do not justify the means? And you doing the very thing that you want to see ended or snuffed out is only going to prolong what you're trying to stop. Because if you not only agree or accept a scenario in which this activity or this behavior is acceptable, you end up perpetuating it. And you set the example that there are times in which this horrible behavior is totally acceptable, but I determine that and you're not it. It's not how that works. If you justify it, then you allow everyone else to justify it, basically. Okay. It authorizes the Joint Terrorism Task Forces to investigate individuals, organizations, and funders responsible for, sponsor, or otherwise aid and abet the principal actors engaging in the criminal conduct. Wow, think of all the political PACs that could be fucking investigated. And that goes for both sides, in my opinion, whatever. And plus, the way that this is written is so vague that it's whatever the investigatory body wants it to be. If you are guilty of any of these acts or whatever, you could be doing something that the majority of people in the country do every day. But if the investigatory body doesn't like you, or doesn't like it, or more importantly, doesn't like you, well, let's bring that blanket term on over here and cover you with it, The Attorney General shall issue specific guidance that ensures domestic terrorism priorities include politically motivated terrorist acts such as organized doxing campaigns, swatting, rioting, looting, trespass, assault, destruction of property, threats of violence, and civil disorder. NSPM 7 says civil disorder. See, this is going to affect Americans a lot more than you realize. Even people here on YouTube, because the list of things that they just really pretty much described here, well, besides the looting, trespass, and assault, probably destruction of violence or just destruction of property, but the rest of it, this is stuff that's discussed and threatened or even alleged or accused every day on this platform alone. I sit there and think about how take Katie Joy, for example, her talking about these emails or whatever she gets, or these calls or whatever she gets. And she only seems to get them when she's, facing some deep water or whatever, from whatever lawsuit she's in at the time. That's when all of these these stalkers or whatever, these harassers and these trolls, like, rear their ugly heads and shit and make their appearance known. Well, I think many of us here in this community, we kind of wonder, suspect, or possibly even just flat out believe that the calls coming from inside the house, basically, you know? So if you have a situation like that where someone is setting shit up to make it appear like you yourself are guilty of it, well, now this could be turned into an investigation against terrorism. That's fucking scary. You could piss someone off on YouTube and they can just put together this elaborate plan or whatever, and to have you branded a terrorist because you told them to fuck off or something. It's fucking crazy. Anyway, civil disorder. I don't want to sound hyperbolic, but the plain truth is that NSPM 7 is a declaration of war on anyone who does not support the Trump administration and its agenda. I agree. Yes, it repeats the word violent over and over to purport only to go after citizens who are moved to take up arms, but it also directs monitoring and intelligence collection to map and target the new evildoers, to borrow a Bush label he took from the Bible just days after 9/11. The partisan focus couldn't be more obvious. The real problem is this. Since Charlie Kirk was murdered, a friend of mine assassinated, nothing's changed on their side. White House counterterrorism Cesar Sebastian Gorka told Newsmax after NSPM 7 was signed. Not one leader, not one left-wing thought leader, member of Congress, senator, nobody has said we distance ourselves from the violent rhetoric. What? I don't know, man. I think Sebastian might be deaf or incompetent. I don't know. Like, I've heard that from almost every person who spoke on it, from who's in elected office on the left or on the Democrat side. Like, that's one of the staples that everyone has made a point to say, rightfully so. The left refuses to rid themselves of the justification for violence, Gorka continued, and as such, President Trump is taking measures to protect us from the violent rhetoric that becomes snipers and bullets. But see, that's not it. Some people maybe, yeah, there's been some assholes out there talking on this shit. Absolutely. But it doesn't matter. He still didn't deserve to die. It's not a hard thing to come to terms with. Sure, you can sit there and say, well, you know, he angered this group of people, He said this, he said that, sure. But it doesn't matter, because everything that he did, you should end that sentence with, but he didn't deserve to die. Sure, he said this, but he didn't deserve to die. Sure, he spoke out against this group of people, but he didn't deserve to die. You know, I mean, anyway. Oh, that's the end of that one. Okay. I'm going to go on over here to chat real quick. And no, there. All right, so hi, GLB. It becomes. Oh, the siren sounded like it. Yeah, it wasn't on my street. It was, so like, my street's a very quiet street. There's only a few houses on it. Then it connects to a little bit busier of a street, but still very, very quiet street. And then there's a field, and then there's the boulevard. And I think it was on the boulevard. But there's not much trees and shit in the way of buildings. It's just like a straight shoot through the air. So it sounds like it's right next door. Sounds like Germany, 1939. That's another thing too. Okay, so I was explaining this whole situation to Michael because he's never really interested in anything political, but he caught wind of the whole National Guard being called into cities, and he saw a clip on the news where one of them was like pepper spraying, or I don't think it was the National Guard doing it, it was an ICE agent doing it, pepper spraying a citizen. And so when he's then starts asking questions, so I'm like, oh yay, okay, here, let me fill you in. And so I was explaining it to him about what they did, the ICE agents, what they did in Chicago, how they went into the apartment building, pretty much cleared out, went through every apartment just about, I think, looking for undocumented or illegal immigrants. And I'm like, when you think about it, though, how is that any different than the Nazi army going house to house looking for Jewish people? Like, how is that any different, really? I mean, sure, it's different because of where they ended up and where they could end up. But I get that. But it wasn't the destination that made it wrong. It could have, but really what made it wrong is just being taken by your government just for no other reason other than just they don't want your kind here. They don't want your color here. They don't want your origin here, your culture here. You know, and really, I'm sure when all that shit started in Germany, I'm sure that no one sat there and thought, like, let's round them up and straight to the camps. I'm sure that it happened. It was a progression that's where they ended up. I'm sure in the very beginning that wasn't where they ended up. How long it took to then, I don't know. I'm not a World War II expert, but can we say for sure that progression's not going to happen here? I mean, what happened to that whole like alligator Alcatraz thing or whatever? Like, what the fuck was that about? And I know people want to argue like they don't belong here, or do it the legal way. Well, people have been doing it the legal way, and like I can't tell you how many stories I hear about people showing up to court appointments or whatever in their process, in their steps to doing it the legal way, to pay the fee, whatever. And then that's when they get picked up by agents, and then they get shipped off to wherever. But the family doesn't find out where they were shipped off to until weeks later, when they sit there wondering that entire time, is my loved one even alive still? Like, where are they? And so I want to explain it like this for those who sit there and think, well, tough shit, they're not Americans. If, you know, they're going to have to find something else to do or find another place to go or whatever. Well, so I've been watching some videos and stuff on YouTube where a lot of interviews are happening to certain places of the South, especially like around Appalachia and everything. Like I watched this video where Bernie Sanders went down there and met with the people and stuff, like just a couple months ago. And it was eye-opening. And I sit there and I'm going through my own thought process in my head. Like, you know, people are telling stories about how, sure, they can get, you know, free donated food, but they have to drive the hour to go get it and sit in this very long line of cars waiting for their share. And they don't have the gas. They can't afford that. You know, and I mean, when you don't even have enough fuel in your car to go get donated food, there's a problem. That's a huge deal. And like, that's just one part of it. Like, people with health problems, like, they're looking at a doctor's office an hour away, maybe. And that's if they have the coverage. And they don't have cars, many people, because really, who the fuck can afford a car when you're just that broke? No one can. And there's no jobs in the area because everything moved out. And I go through this in my head, like, well, and I think to myself, why don't they just move? Because they could move to an area where there is jobs, where there is stores right around the corner, whatever. They don't need a car. There's public transportation. Well, obviously, there's the obvious part of that. You know, they need money to move. People need money to move. And moving in that regard isn't that easy, because you're not just like moving for a better neighborhood. You're leaving your entire culture, your entire family, your entire life as you've known it behind. And you're moving someplace new, some places probably much different than you've ever known. It's kind of like you are an immigrant. And if so many people support our country, telling everyone else who's not from our country that you don't get to come in here, well, considering that this is a very large country, it covers a lot of land. So the economic situation is going to differ greatly amongst the areas in the whole country. So it's almost like parts of the South could be compared to the economic regime of these other countries where immigrants come to us from. So if that's the case, how long is it before states start telling other states, you don't get to come in here? Or counties start telling other counties, you don't get to come in here? You know, I mean, that's a scary thought, right? Like that, I don't know. That's what I just kept thinking about. Like, what if a hurricane or something or earthquake came through my area here and just everything was demolished and no one wanted to put forth the money to rebuild or whatever? I mean, it'd be a couple of years probably before the companies left, you know, their job opportunities up and left, education tanked, you know, drugs came, well, the drugs are already here, but whatever. But what if I wanted to move somewhere? What if I just wanted to move to the next city, or what if I just wanted to move somewhere because I like the scenery better? I mean, but it's still in the United States. Like, if you support people not coming in to an area this big, then that circle is only going to get smaller, because people are going to, they're going to act in ways that they believe that they can get away with, and in ways that have been modeled for them. And if the smaller municipality governments see the bigger governments behaving in a way, then who's to stop that from happening on a smaller scale? I mean, there should just be protecting human rights, I think, for all across the board. And we don't have those anymore. I'm not so sure we ever really did, but we at least had the impression that we did. I don't have that impression anymore. So anyways, that's my whole opinion on that. But I want to look up now the story in Chicago with the shooting. So this, I haven't watched this one yet, so
current this hour with the alarming scene.
So what I'm playing now is looks like it's a 15-minute long clip. I don't know how much of it I'm going to play, but it's from MSNBC, and it's titled "Unhinged and Unhealthy: Chicago Mayor Slams Trump for ICE Raids and National Guard Deployments." I thought I clicked on something about ICE-free zones. Apparently not.
Coming out of Chicago and the surrounding area, where the Trump administration has escalated its immigration crackdown. Officers were seen in riot gear.
Never mind. That's 2 days old. I don't want something that old. My bad. I thought it said an hour ago, but apparently not. All right, what's up here? The police chief. Oh, this one I want. Okay. It's a Fox News one, but this is what I don't know. This is their attempt to discredit the Chicago police over all this shit.
Intense protests in Chicago.
Sorry, my bad. It's from 20 hours ago. It's on Fox News, the channel Fox News, and it's titled "Very Concerning. Former Detective Calls Out Chicago PD for Mishandling Anti-ICE Protests."
Chicago after border agents shot an armed woman Saturday morning. DHS says agents acted in self-defense after she rammed them with her car. A hospital has released her into FBI custody. Christina Coleman is live with more. Hello, Christina.
Hi, Mike. Yeah, things also got heated last night between anti-ICE protesters and federal agents in the Brighton Park neighborhood of Chicago last night. Take a look at this disturbing video.
Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back!
On the ground there.
Oh my God, they're dancing. Oh my God, I'm so disturbed. Why didn't they put a trigger warning on this shit? What the fuck? Check out this disturbing video, and then they show people dancing, breaking. Oh my God.
Says anti-ICE protesters were throwing objects at ICE agents and vehicles. Law enforcement deployed tear gas to break up the violent crowd. ICE, CBP, and FBI agents were all at the scene, and at one point, anti-ICE protesters attempted to block a major roadway in Broadview, Illinois. State troopers made several arrests after that incident. Also, federal authorities say Border Patrol law enforcement officers were ambushed by domestic terrorists who rammed federal agents with their vehicles and boxed them in with their cars the night before in Broadview, Illinois, that same area where anti-ICE protesters have been gathering for weeks now. Take a look at this. DHS says this woman, Miramar Martinez, was driving one of the vehicles. They say she was armed with a semi-automatic weapon and has a history of doxing federal agents. And authorities identified this man that you see there as Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz. They say he was a driver of another vehicle in this incident. DHS said, quote, the scene became increasingly violent as more domestic terrorists gathered and began throwing smoke, gas, rocks, and bottles at DHS law enforcement. Another domestic terrorist was arrested for assaulting CBP at the scene. Extremely dangerous. Take a listen.
A 10-car caravan followed.
Really, domestic terrorists. No, I don't buy that. See, okay. There are government agencies that are being deployed or whatever, sent to American cities to go through, to infiltrate, to force their way into people's lives and people's homes, looking for a certain class of people because they want to, for the purposes of rounding up and shipping out. Okay. These people that, that they're calling domestic terrorists, they're not even on the offensive. They're on the defensive against government agencies. The defensive. I'm not so sure that would qualify, in my opinion, as a terrorist, even in this regard, because I don't think that they went driving around looking for a federal agent somewhere and possibly, like, hey, let's drive by their house and see if they're outside. Then we can hit them with the car. That would be different. But that's not the case here. I mean, and that's assuming that everything that was alleged there actually happened. I don't know. I don't think that this qualifies as domestic terrorism. I really don't. I mean, because they're not the instigator. They're not initiating anything. And what is being instigated and initiated against them and against Americans as a whole is fucking horrible. I mean, it's not even like we're just told, like, it's not even like the government is just like pushing people's buttons. They're kidnapping people. They're shipping people out of the country. They're beating people. They're, in some instances, even killing people. I mean, very rare from what I hear, but still. They're defending themselves. I don't see how that's terrorist.
Followed and stalked our agents and then circled them in and pinned them down. They had to shoot their way out of their cars in order to get to safety. So we do have some bounties that have been released on the heads of our agents, $10,000 to kill them, and
fuck off.
Specific agents.
Fuck off. That is such bullshit.
Now, this comes days after violent clashes between anti-ICE protesters and federal law enforcement outside of the ICE facility in Broadview, Illinois. It seems like it's happening.
See, that is such bullshit. I don't buy that for a second, not for a second, because here's the thing. If their goal is to end this or to discourage these agencies or the people in charge or whatever of, sicking these agencies in these areas, well, that's what they do. That's not going to get anyone closer to such a goal. That's only going to make it farther away. Because it's not the agents. It's kind of like, cutting off the head of a snake or something. Like, these agents aren't the snake's head. They're expendable. They're not going. Them not being here is not going to make a difference. So I don't buy that for a second.
Happening there. night after night. Yesterday, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said he was notified that the Trump administration intends to federalize 300 members of the National Guard, a move he strongly opposes. Pritzker said, quote, "The Trump administration's Department of War gave me an ultimatum. Call up your troops or we will. It is absolutely outrageous and un-American to demand governors send military troops within our own borders and against our will." So Pritzker maintains there's no need for military troops on the ground in Illinois, and he says that he will not call up the National Guard. And in Oregon, where there's been violent protests outside of the ICE facility in Portland for days now, in response to all of that, the Trump administration announced that 200 Oregon National Guard troops would be federalized to protect federal property. But in a ruling yesterday, a federal judge in Oregon temporarily blocked the Trump administration from doing that. Well, the Trump administration is already fighting the judge's decision. They filed a notice of appeal to the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals yesterday. So we will see how that all plays out. Mike?
Christina Coleman.
See, and the judge is right to do that, in my opinion, because Trump is trying to set the stage for a war here on American land. Like, why this urgency to get illegal immigrants out of the country today? Like, why? I mean, there's no underground network or anything of like terroristic activity that's been reported or any shit like that. I mean, there hasn't been an attack or anything like that anywhere in the country. So why is he pushing so hard? Not only remove these people, but to do so in such a violent and aggressive manner, because it could be done on a much more quiet and civil way. But it's like they just bypassed any possibilities of any kind of civil proceeding. They just want to do it as loudly and as rough as they can. So, but why though? Because he has to know that's going to cause pushback from American citizens, and even those who aren't American citizens. It's going to cause pushback from humans. So then he wants to throw all kinds of gasoline on that fire and send in the part of the military, the National Guard, and to do this in more than one place across the country. He's starting a war. He fired the first shot by putting the ICE agents there with the directives that they had. And now he's just continuing that by wanting to send in the National Guard. I mean, nobody asked for this except for Trump. Nobody's insisting on this or initiating this except for Trump. Well, I keep saying Trump, but it's Trump's administration. It's not even Trump, really, I don't think. But it's the whole administration. Like, why? I mean, I have a hard time believing that people are going to go to these extreme acts without there being a big reason why. And I can't see it. I don't see it. I can't imagine what that would be. But what the fuck would that be? It just seems like awful lot of exposure, and to risk this kind of exposure and to almost certainly guarantee this kind of exposure without any kind of reward. What the fuck is a reward? Anyway.
Thanks very much. Now let's bring in Fox News contributor and defense attorney Ted Williams. Ted, welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
I want to play some sound from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and I'll get you to react to it.
Sure.
Our intelligence indicates that these people are organized, getting more and more people on their team as far as attacking officers, and they're making plans to ambush them and to kill them. We have specific officers and agents that have bounties that have been put out on their heads. It's been $2,000 to kidnap them, $10,000 to kill them. They've released their pictures.
If they were true, and it's just your basic American citizens, according to them, that are involved in this, wouldn't it some responsibility fall on the leaders of these agencies to protect their agents, like pull them out of the war zone, maybe? It just seems crazy. No, let's put more people at risk.
Pictures. They've sent them between their networks, and it's an extremely dangerous situation.
Very dangerous situation, Ted. What's your reaction?
And I really feel like, too, that there was the possibility of using this tactic of making these accusations was kind of always a potential goal, because why else would these agents be wearing those face masks from day fucking one. You know, because it's kind of put it in everyone's head subliminally that they have to protect their identity. Well, why would they have to do that? Unless people knowing who they are would put them at risk, possibly. Not obviously that's not the case, but just by them wearing the masks and ending up in the news with the masks on, puts that thought into people's heads, so that when they can then later come out with these accusations, it's far more believable.
Extremely dangerous, and it's sad that we've gotten to where we are in this country, where you have individuals out here who are disrespecting law enforcement
Disrespect.
officers who are only trying to do
Disrespecting. He didn't say trying to kill these officers. He didn't say trying to maim and torture these officers. He said disrespecting. He used the correct word, I think. But that's the word he used, disrespecting. Wow.
their duty. You know, I grew up, Mike, in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and we had something called Officer Friendly, where the citizens knew that what the police officers were doing was to be respected, and they were respected. And now we find, unfortunately, that throughout this country, law enforcement officers are under siege, and that should not be.
About the incident yesterday in the Chicago area where federal agents were boxed in and threatened, DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin saying, quote, law enforcement was forced to deploy their weapons and fire defensive shots at an armed U.S. citizen. Does that suggest they felt like their lives were at risk?
Absolutely. I mean, when you box law enforcement officers in, as they were in Chicago there, and the law enforcement officers actually seen one of the individuals with a rifle, law enforcement officers have the right to protect themselves under those circumstances.
Dan Bongino from the FBI.
That amazes me. And I get, sometimes, police officers, it is for the betterment of community to come in and arrest someone or take someone in or whatever. But they're not just coming after one person or someone over a crime. Okay. These agents are coming into these neighborhoods and they're coming a blanketed amount of people. It doesn't even matter. Whoever they find, they'll take in, and they're searching for these people. They're searching, and they will just go for err on the side of caution. Anyone they suspect who will fall under these criteria for the people they're looking for, they will take, regardless of citizenship or not. They'll sort it out later. That's what they're doing. And the people are saying no. And these guys here are on the desk there at the news station saying that these officers have a right to then take lethal action because the citizens are saying no.
Says this effort to intimidate federal agents will not slow them down and the mission will not stop. Is that your expectation as well?
It is definitely my expectation, Mike.
They will not intimidate these officers. What does that even mean? Because intimidating is not threatening. If it were, then why need the word threatening? But he didn't say threatening. He said intimidating. So intimidating really is just, it all depends on the person, how they perceive the action being taken. Not so much what the act being taken is, just how it's perceived.
These law enforcement officers have been given a job to do, and they're going to perform their job as they've always done in this country.
There were some complaints yesterday from Homeland Security officials.
Okay, I was just going to say, show me when this has always been the case with, people and agencies in this country. But now that I think about it, throughout history, there has been some examples of that. But again, though, I can still prove my point. Why we didn't learn from the first time or something? Was it after the attack on Pearl Harbor, rounding up all the Japanese Americans? We didn't learn how just kind of fucked up that might have been. So, and we're not even at war here. This isn't even a war. This is just our federal government deciding they don't want a certain group of people in our country. It's not even a war.
that local police in the Chicago area did not step in to help these law enforcement, these federal agents. Does that concern you as someone with a law enforcement background?
Well, I think some of them couldn't really be much of a help because they were too busy trying to flush the pepper spray out of their eyes from the ICE agents. Yeah.
Very concerning and alarming. The one thing that law enforcement officers have is the backup other law enforcement officers. And under the circumstances of what we've been told, I think there's definitely a need for an investigation to determine if Chicago law enforcement officers did not back up federal law enforcement officers. That is just inappropriate under the circumstances.
Is this one of the most dangerous situations you've seen in your career facing federal agents?
You know, Mike, it is where, according to the Secretary of Homeland Security, there are bounties out on law enforcement officers, where law enforcement officers, unfortunately, cannot go home because they're being followed, where law enforcement officers have to wear masks because they don't want their identities out there because they're concerned about their families. That should never happen.
They've been wearing these masks since they first showed up on any scene anywhere. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a video clip of ICE agents showing up somewhere without the mask on. It's been since day one. And now this is such a concern that now they have to wear a mask. What do you mean? They've been doing that all along. It's almost like that was part of the plan. I know I sound like a conspiracy theorist with that shit. I know, whatever, but fuck.
In America.
They swear an oath to.
Where are you going? Where are you going? 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I'm getting a cotton candy. What is it called? The Burger King? Freezy or something? I don't know. They're so fucking good though. Anyway.
To protect and defend, right? And they're doing their jobs and they're being threatened. It's really
right.
Sick.
One more video down here I saw listed I want to check out. Right here. Oh, fucking ads.
Donald Trump wanted American cities to be training grounds, and ICE listened. In Chicago, in the middle of the night, federal agents stormed an apartment building. Black Hawk helicopters, flashbangs, military-style trucks, all used in the raid. Now, witnesses say everyone was detained, no matter their status. Children were zip-tied together, separated from their parents. And the feds say that they arrested dozens of gang members. Also in the city, Charlie Kirk's group was given a front row seat to a raid inside a Walmart.
Amazing. Secretary Noem was here. They rolled up a couple of guys. And
Why? I mean, the person who assassinated him, it's not like they were an undocumented immigrant or anything. Why? Like, seriously, why?
And it's rowdy. There's a lot of people around. Everyone's filming. The Secretary of Homeland Security is right now doing raids at Walmart.
So as forewarned, I mean, we have a situation in which American cities are at the center of this ICE crackdown, and there's indiscriminate use of force against Americans, non-Americans, people here legally, people here illegally. And on the right, nobody seems to care. In fact, they love it.
I saw a video from a local station in Chicago, and residents of a community there were describing an ICE raid and like what they saw. Two things struck me. One, they were talking about things that happened to them. They were talking about how they were treated. in this ICE raid. These are the people that, I guess, by virtue of being born here in America, are entitled to being treated like human beings. The second thing is that they were all Black. And I'm going to say something. We saw this coming. We knew the neighborhoods where these ICE raids would take place. We knew that a lot of these things wouldn't happen in Beverly Hills or in Coconut Grove or any of those places like that. We knew that there would be collateral damage, that there would be trauma that would be inflicted on our communities. We knew that people would be detained, scared. We knew that children would have to see things that they shouldn't have to see. And all of this for political theater so that we look tough on immigration for everyone. It's a horror show. And I do think if it hasn't already happened, that it'll be something that even the most conservative of Americans will get tired of seeing human beings treated this way. At least that's my hope.
The one neighbor said the kids were crying. They looked very distraught. I was out there crying when I seen the little girl come around the corner because they were bringing kids down too, had them zip tied to each other. Saying that there were trucks, military-style vans used to separate adults from kids. What's going on?
I haven't seen any of this, so I certainly am not aware of particular neighborhoods that are targeted. Obviously, I support them finding and arresting people who are here illegally. And in the community they're in, again, I can't justify, I haven't seen which communities that they're targeting.
Well, one detail that's been left out is that they were targeting Tren de Aragua. And so Tren de Aragua is a violent transnational gang. They send illegal immigrants here to the United States. They traffic drugs, they traffic people, they commit violence. They inflict misery everywhere they go. And 37 people were arrested. That was the purpose of the raid. The targeting of Tren de Aragua, some of the most violent people in our hemisphere. And when they come here,
I don't buy it. I don't buy that for a second, because in the past, whenever there was the case, when they were going after like a gang or part of a cartel or whatever, really ICE, it's usually maybe the FBI, but it's usually DEA or Homeland Security. Like, why the fuck would they entrust that to ICE agents? I don't buy it. Nope, I don't buy it. Like, if there were like these gang members here and like it was an issue or whatever, it would be known. Their behavior, their actions would know it would cause an issue. Or if they were here for drug purposes, it would be known. It would cause issues. Really, the DEA is just going to say, oh yeah, go ahead. ICE can take care of that one. Yeah, whatever. Fuck no. Because you think about the DEA, like so many like drug cases are connected to other drug cases. They lead to other drug cases, other convictions, other arrests, whatever. So no, ICE was not there because there was like members of a gang or a cartel there. And there wouldn't be members of a gang or cartel there if it wasn't for criminal activity, meaning sales. I don't buy that for 1 second.
Here, nothing good happens. That was
okay. So if it was targeting, I don't think anybody has a problem with targeting. Right. When you clear out an apartment building and you zip tie children and you arrest and detain everyone, Scott, hold on, Scott. You and me, we're talking here, okay? If they arrest children, they arrest everyone, citizens and non-citizens.
I want to play that again because I'm amazed at how she just took back control of that whole exchange there. And yeah, that was impressive.
At an apartment building and you zip tie children and you arrest and detain everyone. Scott, hold on, Scott. You and me, we're talking here, okay? If they arrest children, they arrest everyone, citizens and non-citizens, for hours, detain them, deprive them of their liberty for no matter how long. You are fine with that.
They didn't arrest children, but
I didn't say they arrested them. They put them in zip ties. But if that makes a difference to you, go ahead.
Here's what makes a difference to me. If the federal government knows that there is a nest of Tren de Aragua in a city like Chicago, they have a responsibility. They have an obligation to go get them. It is unfortunate, to answer your question, that there are children put in harm's way by these violent gangs. But that is
Is
going
it
to be the reality.
unfortunate, or is it is it unfortunate,
No,
or
okay,
is it a
Tamina, hold
violation
on.
of their rights? Is the question. Because I mean,
Again, if it's so detrimental that these gang members are there, why the fuck is ICE handling it? Especially when you think about it, the ICE agency today, their new hiring practices, their new requirements for new hires. Think about that. That's who they're sending out and entrusting with picking up these violent gang members hiding in this apartment house. I don't know. No.
in this country, we have rights against searches
Well,
and
you're
illegal
suggesting
searches
these
and
children
seizure.
should be effectively
We have
human shields
right-
for Trende Aragua. I don't agree.
What I'm asking, hold on. I want to make it clear. I don't like. I know that Trende Aragua and gangs and whatever, it's a catch-all to treat people however you want, to go in there and shred the Constitution or whatever else it is that you want to do. What I'm asking you is this: do you think that children should have been zip-tied and pulled out of an apartment complex and traumatized like that? Yes or no?
I don't think children should be put in harm's way by transnational gangs.
Just answer the question.
I know, fucking answer
Yes
the
or no?
question.
Do you think that children?
I don't accept the premise of your question.
I'm asking
the
you
government's not
whether or
putting
not-
children in harm's way. Trende Aragua.
Real calm now. Real calm. Like
They're the ones putting
gentlemen
children
and
in harm's way.
Gentlemen and gentlemen, we have a responsibility for the way we treat people with the power that we have here in America. And we have a standard that we should treat human life with. And I'm asking you very clearly, concisely, should children be treated that way? The Scott Jennings like that?
I don't accept the premise of your question.
All right, cool.
I don't believe that the premise of your question is accurate. I would ask you back. Should children be allowed to live in an apartment building with Trende Aragua? Should the entire community of Chicago have to live with Trende Aragua because they
No.
hide behind these
See,
children?
see, that's the thing. That's what he just said there. Should children be allowed to live there? Okay, he didn't say should children be forced to witness crimes from living with these gang members. He just said, should they be forced? Should they be allowed to live in the same building, basically? But that's not a crime. So you're already criminalizing this group of people for crimes against these children that have not happened. Not saying they wouldn't. There's nothing to suggest they would or wouldn't, but they haven't. And you want to just jump right to these violent, aggressive tactics to remove these kids. Allegedly, that's your intention, anyways. To remove these kids away from these violent gang members, when there's been no violent gang activity having been perpetrated in front or involving these kids, right? Because if there were, then that would have been the charges, I'm sure. But just because you caught wind that they were under the same roof somehow, like that's not a justification. It's not. It's an excuse on your part, sure, but it's not a justification.
Here's the thing.
That's my
I
question
think
to
the
you.
answer to that is clear. No, they should not be put in harm's way. But the difference is in this situation is I don't want to be Trende Aragua. I don't want my law enforcement to act like Trende Aragua. That is
So
the
what do you wanna do?
distinction.
Do you want to
But-
leave it?
but-
Do you just want to leave it and say, well, they have kids in there, let's just move on? Is
No,
that
but
what you wanna do?
can't law enforcement figure out a way? I don't think this is the first time.
There's a huge middle ground. You're not left with two options and only two options. Do nothing or do the most violent, aggressive thing you can think of at the moment. There's a lot of middle ground. And that's assuming that these claims are true or whatever.
Children have been in an environment where dangerous people have been around them. And I'm most certain that in most of those circumstances, those children aren't zip tied and carried out like animals. What
Exactly.
I'm wondering is, okay, let's put this fact pattern on any other placement. Let's put it on a school, right? What if there was a gang member in a school? And by this calculation, it would seem like the children in the school, in order to get that one gang member or two gang members,
Handcuff the
would
whole
get.
biology
It's not
class.
one gang member. It's 37
Well,
people in an apartment
there's
building.
It's a large apartment building. That's part of the fact pattern here. I mean, here's another one from our reporting. Tenants said it appears everyone in the building was detained by federal officers, including U.S. citizens. It was scary, said one, because I had never had a gun in my face. That person lives in the building. They asked my name and my date of birth and asked me, did I have any warrants? I told them no, I didn't. Fisher, this person says, she was handcuffed anyway before being released around 3 a.m. and was told anyone with outstanding warrants, even if it was unrelated to immigration, would not be released. So again,
please,
like people
seriously,
live in apartment buildings all over this country.
I promise that.
Is that where we're?
Wait a second.
Should I just go to an apartment building and hide?
Wait. I'm talking about the way that citizen of this country was treated. By the way, I just want to be clear. I think that
I want to go down and check out the comments here real quick, and then I think I'm going to wrap this up. But we're going to wrap this up with a related but entertaining video nonetheless. If the white woman doesn't know anything, why is she there? Oh, what? Oh, fuck you. Gotta love how the same people who told me having to wear a cloth mask for 10 minutes at the grocery store was tyranny are now telling me having my door kicked in at 3 a.m. and getting detained for hours. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. I said fuck you, and then I should have read it first. Getting detained for hours by masked government agents with no warrant is totally fine. Actually, I fully support that comment. I apologize. My bad. I fully support that. But yeah. Anyway. The level of their comfort, the level of their comfort and complicity in this cruelty is astounding. Yeah. Right, let me check chat here real quick. I haven't checked that in a minute. Yeah. Thank you, Jill B. Yes. Timothy McVeigh is an example of domestic terrorists, not the citizens of a neighborhood where ICE is invading. Exactly. Thank you. You said that in a much more efficient way than I could have. I lived in Sanctuary City among illegals for many years. It was hell. I live in a sanctuary city. I don't know. I know that we've been taking in Utica, New York, immigrants for a while now, and our police force and our mayor town hall or whatever just came out with like this. I guess you could call it a decree or whatever, where the law enforcement here is not supporting these tactics, because they want the citizens here, the people living here, citizens or not, to feel safe at least, and to be able to report crimes. They don't want people worried that because they were attacked, that if they go and tell the police about it, they're going to be shipped off to whatever country, So I would classify it as kind of a sanctuary city. I have no issue with it. I don't know. Like, sure, there are times or whatever that it is an adjustment, it can be kind of, it can be a bit more, I don't know, more of a hit to your patience levels, but okay. I'm fine with that. I don't know. There are no more sanctuary zones in the U.S. anymore. Okay. I was going to say, I never heard Utica called a sanctuary city or whatever, but there's been just things in the media and the news that it gives that impression that it's something of that regard. It's welcoming. All right, so we're going to end, I think, I'm going to wrap it up here with this one video. This was, what caught my attention, though, wasn't even what the video was about. It was the name of the video. And let me see here. Let me grab the link. Oh, wait, shoot. Okay. So it's from the YouTube channel. I think it's Minority Report. Yeah, the Minority Report with Sam Cedar. It was just the title that caught my attention. And I thought, Oh, come on. I hope you guys can't hear that. Go away. Okay. So I don't want you to hear it because I don't want to give it away what I'm doing. But like I said, it just the name gave it away. I thought for sure, like, is this parody? Is this satire? There's no way. Like someone is talking on like social justice issues or whatever with that name, and it's not a fucking dig or something at Katie. Come on. All right, so here we go.
Should I switch?
Come on. So yeah, there's the title. Crystal Ball, spelled with a K though, politely dismisses right-wing influencers BS. And the fact that it was Tommy Labor, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, LaRon or whatever. The fact that it was her just made it all that much better. This is from, when was this uploaded? 2 days ago.
Switch to Monday CRM. Updating this field is so confusing.
Okay.
Okay. Well, is your team spending more time on timesheets than their actual work? Deltek Replicon simplifies time tracking by...
All right, I don't have to listen to the ad while it's playing. It's so annoying. Okay.
When Mike Tyson got out of jail, they set him up with a patsy to start his career back up. His name was Peter McNeely.
And where was he from? Like Fall River or something like that?
He was from rural, I think, Western Mass. Had a thick accent, Irish guy, 4-leaf clover on his robe. Not a smart man. He said famously said Tyson had doo-doo in his pants. Anyway, Tyson knocked him out in about 45 seconds.
Now we should say, I can't remember again. Why are we talking about this? Oh yeah, put up this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. Now I want to be clear. Crystal Ball is not coming out of prison.
Yes. Crystal's the Tyson here.
Did Tommy Lauren invite Crystal onto the show?
Well, okay, before
or did
we
this
even
happen
start,
by accident?
read the comments. Just like, can we just do non-full? Yeah, go down. I mean, this is her.
So this has to do with the whole the hell is his name? Bad Bunny performing at the Super Bowl. This is just hilarious.
Own channel. Okay. Tommy made the mistake of inviting someone with a fully functional brain on her show. Tommy, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. You got humiliated. Tommy didn't know Puerto Rico was a part of the USA. That's part 2 if we want to do it quickly, but the whole thing's really worth your time. She got smoked.
All right, let's go. Let's watch it.
Okay.
But it's fascinating. Did Tommy invite Crystal on?
It
or
seems
did
that way.
Crystal somehow figure out a way of like...
I don't think she crowded him.
Yeah. Okay. Because this is, I mean, hat tip to Tommy for
stepping into the arena.
Stepping into the arena of ideas. But also, maybe reverse hat tip for having absolutely no sense of just how insulated she has been for years.
Right. But she's someone who probably needs to do this a little bit too, because she got kind of...
Now, I'm not overly familiar with Tommy. I remember when she first kind of became like a thing or whatever in this area. Like she went to college somewhere near where I live. I want to say maybe Ithaca, Cornell, maybe. I'm not sure. Or maybe it was one of the SUNY colleges. But anyway, so she apparently first attempted to be some sort of other kind of talking head figure, like a commentator, but she tried to come at it from a more like leftist point of view, not saying she was left, but from a more leftist point of view. But she didn't get anywhere, apparently. So, and then somehow she got noticed or recognized or seen or whatever, acknowledged for crazy, right-wing talking points. And she's just kind of ran with that train ever since. But I find it interesting, though, to just know that she didn't become famous because of her views. She adapted her views to become famous.
Of
sidelined for daring to say that she was somewhat pro-choice.
Yeah, she says pro-choice is a libertarian position.
So this part is on free speech. This is getting a little less attention. We'll play the Bad Bunny thing that's going a little viral in a sec, but she also destroys her here.
And you have to put it together, Tommy. I genuinely want to ask you this question. Like, is there nothing that he's done that you feel like, it's a little too far? Like, we've had the tariffs, which have been wild and unilaterally imposed. We've got Palantir getting contracts to surveil anyone and everyone they want to. We have people being sent to a foreign gulag with zero due process. We have National Guard being deployed in city after city after city. You have American citizens. I don't know if you saw this video.
Which cities has he deployed National Guard to besides protecting
LA,
federal?
DC, Memphis, Portland.
We invited him here. We invited him to
states.
Tennessee. We invited him to Tennessee. Governor invited him to come clean up the streets of.
Okay, that's great that the governor invited him, but they're still not going to get deployed without the president deploying them. So you're an idiot. I don't know.
Memphis because they desperately need the help. So this is I'm genuinely curious in this.
But Tommy, let me can you respond to the question though? None of this you feel this is a little too far. Saying policing comedians' monologues, right?
He's not
using lawsuits to threaten media, consolidating media in the hands of his allies.
I know that you're not trying to allege that Jimmy Kimmel or Colbert were taken off the air because of President Trump.
They obviously were. I mean, Kimmel in particular, Colbert, you could make another argument about. But the FCC commissioner came out and said we could do this the easy way or the hard way. And next thing you know, Disney pulls the plug. Why? Because
why
they
did they
know that this
reinstate him then?
president weaponizes the federal government
Why was he
against his
reinstated?
adversary.
What did you see what she just did there? Like I don't mean to do that and call attention to myself, but that's kind of what she just did. I gotta see it. What?
The easy way or the hard way. And next thing you know, Disney pulls the plug. Why? Because
why
they
did they
know that this
reinstate him then?
president weaponizes the federal government.
Why was he
against
reinstated?
his adversaries? They're worried about their business deals because the backlash was so severe. Look, these people don't care about anything about their bottom line. I hope you agree with that. And they saw more than 1.7 million Disney customers cancel their Disney Plus subscriptions. So they were like, oh, we've got an even bigger problem here. But there is zero doubt that the intention is to chill speech, to make anyone who opposes this president think twice before they do that. That's what the university crackdowns are about. That's what the legal crackdowns are about. That's what kidnapping students off the street for writing an op-ed. That's what that's about. That's what the National Guard in the street is about. And that's what him saying to these generals today, we have to use the military against the enemy within. So you may not like the term fascist. You may not like it when it's thrown around by Democrats. You had no problem with it when it was thrown around by Trump, by the way. But that is, in fact, the accurate description of what we're seeing here. And so I have no problem with people trying to accurately describe the situation that they're experiencing in their own country.
Do you think that I have so many questions for you? That whole thing like democracy under attack, dictator on day one, that worked so well for you guys in November of last year.
Pause it. Hold on. Now
Wait, why? What? What are we talking about now?
See what she's doing here, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to address the substance of what you said now. I'm going to shift the conversation to you guys as if she's talking to Kamala Harris and saying like, oh, you're going to run on this again type of thing.
But Trump did run on it and he won, calling
Right.
Democrats fascists.
Right.
Part of the thing that she missed when she was just staring dumbly into the camera, waiting for Crystal
Mugging.
to stop talking.
and holding with like both hands on her seat. Like, she's
Well,
like,
I'm sorry, but
"Whoa."
I will say that is a trick if you're a woman to not look broad-shouldered. So you poke your chest out. That's what she's doing. That's what she's
Oh, I
mugging.
see.
She's mugging. Yeah. I mean, yeah, she has a whole new face. She's got to show it off. Sorry.
Are we skipping or are we go?
Just 15 seconds of Crystal here because she calls out what we're saying.
That you're still using it and you think that it's working on the American people. It didn't, and
Tommy,
it's not.
not everything is about a poll. Right. Some things are about like you actually have a principle and you actually care
Well, keep
about
doing
protecting
it.
First
No,
Amendment.
keep doing it.
To
If
me,
you
this
guys-
is
if
like
you guys think that though, that's
Tommy,
fine.
this is to me,
Crystal,
one of the best things about America.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
that was
civility
really
and
it,
your-
just calling. But then the part that people are circulating is the Puerto
This
Rico
part.
thing that we
This
really
is-
enjoy.
yeah.
This part. Oh my God. This is wow. I want to say it's hilarious. It is kind of hilarious, but it's also kind of not.
let's
46-17
play this. Apparently, the Super Bowl has named who their halftime act is.
Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny. I'm not super familiar. People are not going to be surprised.
Really?
But
he's Puerto Rican.
Apparently,
he was the guy. Do you remember at the rally when what that stupid comedian said, made fun of Puerto Rico?
Tony
and
Hinchcliffe.
He called that out. That was a big story at the time because he's a huge Spanish-speaking artist. And he also had pissed off conservatives recently because he said he's not going to tour in the United States because he's afraid that his largely, Latino audience, that there was going to be ICE that would raid it. And he had credible reasons to believe that. And so
I heard that. And he pissed off conservatives recently by saying that. Why would that piss off conservatives? Why? Because now they don't get front seats to a show not being, Bad Bunny performing, but the show being ICE agents rounding up spectators of Bad Bunny's concerts. Like that's how that comes across. Like, oh, I'm sorry, but you just have to ask for a refund or something for your tickets from Trump. I don't know. Like you're not entitled to that show. Like fuck off.
So the Republicans are upset about this and all up in arms that God forbid Bad Bunny is performing at the Super Bowl. And here Tommy or whatever it's called.
And can I just say too, I've been seeing on Twitter like all these like big like statement inducing posts or whatever saying we need Kid Rock to perform. Like what country artist should perform with Kid Rock? What would be the greatest country fucking music concert ever in Super Bowl history? Basically, like they haven't done that 50,000 times. Like sure, go ahead, go get Kid Rock to play. That's gonna be the boringest fucking Super Bowl show. No one's gonna want to fucking watch it. Yep. See, of course, the Super Bowl, they feel pressure probably this year more so than most because they need to at least match their the attention, the excitement, and everything that they got from last year's show. They have to at least match that, preferably surpass it, but at least match it. What country fucking music star is going to do that? Fuck. The fact that people are talking about this now in September, October is proof that they chose wisely.
Displays her ignorance.
Oh, great. A request for a new video. Now to rely on 1,000 people to get it done. Or you can just use Riverside and do it.
Guys, the last thing
This
I want
part,
to talk to you about
most
is because
importantly.
I'm about ready to do my commentary on it. But do you think Bad Bunny is a good choice for the Super Bowl?
I'm not that knowledgeable about him, but it seems fine, and I don't know why it's a big deal. Seems like a great American artist, so sure.
He's
why
not an American artist, but
he's Puerto Rican. That's part of America, dear.
Yeah, you don't think you have any problem with him saying like?
Sorry, can we just stop on that? That Tommy realizes what she's done and has to backfill and well, it's the stuff he's done makes him un-American.
But Crystal knew what she was doing too.
She walked her right into it.
That's the thing. That was just a complete setup, and she walked right into it. Why else would Crystal have referred to Bad Bunny as a perfectly fine American for a choice for this concert here and during Super Bowl halftime? Why else would has any other performer ever been referred to as a perfectly fine American to perform? No, she purposely labeled him that, spoke of him, entitled him that, because she knew that Tommy would hear that and jump right in on it, which she probably didn't know. She probably kind of hoped, she could see it happening, but maybe she wouldn't, in which case if she didn't, no harm, no foul. But on the off chance that she would, it would be so worthwhile, and it was.
And it wasn't hard. I want to give Crystal credit for that. When she said American, she knew that could happen, but it might have exceeded her wildest expectations.
Just go back a little bit, because I just want to see if there's any indication. I imagine that the muscle control of the face that Tommy has is probably somewhat
Performance
inhibited. But I wonder if we can see any flash of realization.
Facial tick?
Yeah.
Do you think Bad Bunny is a good choice for the Super Bowl?
I'm not that like knowledgeable about him, but it seems fine, and I don't know why it's a big deal. Seems like a great American artist, so sure.
He's
why
not an American artist, but
he's Puerto Rican. That's part of America, dear.
yeah, you don't think you have any problem with him saying like,
I missed it the first time. I wondered why she came back and said this part of America, dear. I wondered why the dear. But I think Tommy called her babe and said, when she said, he's not American, babe. Like, I think that's what Tommy said.
Dear. Part of America, so not him, but it seems fine, and I don't know why it's a big deal. Seems like a great American artist, so sure.
he's
why
not an American artist, but
Oh, but
he's
okay, no.
Puerto Rican. That's part of America, dear.
yeah, you don't think you have any problem with him saying like,
The deer.
well, I'm
The
sure you
deer.
don't, mother effers and sons of and that he's not going to perform here.
He said mother effers and sons of bitches.
Go back a little bit.
The deer was so devastating.
I
What?
think that's what people on the left are saying about ICE, is what she's saying.
Yeah, so what?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, who cares?
Puerto Rican. That's part of America, dear.
Yeah, you don't think you have any problem with him saying like the ICE is, well, I'm sure you don't, mother effers and sons of and that he's not going to perform here due to immigration.
America agrees with him on that.
You
I
think
mean,
so?
the majority of Americans think ICE has gone too far. They've watched videos of like 79-year-old business owners be slammed to the ground and their ribs broken by ICE. So I think the American people are probably on board with that message at this point, Tommy.
Okay. Well, whoever you're talking to, I'm sure is. I'm not so sure the rest of the country is, but
I'm just looking at the polls. That's all.
Yeah, but you told me earlier that the polls
actual
didn't matter,
numbers
Crystal.
that are
You
behind
said
my
sometimes
statements,
the
not just the
polls don't
vibes.
matter. Remember that when you told me
Wait. I wish this is like the one time I wish we had a body language person. Go back, watch what
Talking about
happened.
the
what she's
playing with
doing.
their nails?
No, she's playing with her engagement ring. And when she has clearly like been completely eviscerated by Crystal, it's almost like she needs to look at that diamond on her ring to be like, everything's going to be fine.
I am valuable.
Watch
I am valuable.
Watch this.
All right. On that note, we're gonna end it. We're gonna end it here. Yeah, that was hilarious. The whole he's not American. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna let me see here. Let me check chat real quick. Hi, live life whimsically. Hi. All right. So on that note, I want to talk about this more because this is just the fact of how the government is now allowing our national security agencies and investigatory bodies to target and focus on Americans simply for disagreeing with the current regime in office. Like, that is the most un-American thing I've ever heard. Like, at least according to my own perception and belief of what America is and has been for my entire life, that is the most un-American thing I've ever heard. So yeah. Well, that and the whole like rounding up its citizens and even its non-citizens and shit. Yeah, that's un-American too. Anyway, hi Tex-Mex Thunderclap. Sorry, I'm wrapping it up now. Michael came back and have you guys had this thing from? Oh my god, it's a cotton candy shake. It is the most delicious thing ever, and I want to go enjoy it right now. So I will see you guys later, though. I don't have anything scheduled to come out yet, but I don't know. That could change. I want to start doing like some shorts and shit like that, and I do have like a bunch of shit I want to upload to TikTok, but I don't know. I may never get around to that. Where's it from? Oh, it's from Burger King. Yeah. But it's good. It's cotton candy. You know, I don't know. I would still much rather have that watermelon freeze that Taco Bell used to have. There's a Taco Bell, like, I don't know, within a 5-minute walk from my house. And the first year we moved here, they had the watermelon freeze. The little, like, black seed, like, looking candies in it. Oh my God, the shit was so good. It's so fucking good. They haven't had it back since. That was like 6 years ago. Pisses me off. So, cotton candy is okay, but it's still not watermelon. Anyway. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.